Be cross-representing the prosecution's point of view, Michael Sepe. Michael is an assistant district attorney in Nassau County, New York.
My impression.
Okay. Statistically, women are much less likely to commit murder than men in general, regardless of the weapon. And when there is a weapon used, I don't know if there are hard statistics on this. I would tend to think that guns, more indirect weapons, do tend to be more common, so I think you may be right there.
For women, even domestic violence cases, I think women...
With the exception of domestic violence.
But knives are used.
Or a pair of scissors.
Knives, razors.
But speaking of... What do you think?
Give me a break. He's sharpening a double-edged sword. The defense attorney is having this witness establish that she was pressuring the defendant to break off the relationship, and he, in fact, is laying a prosecution motive for this killing. That this woman wanted her boyfriend, the defendant, to break off this relationship and set the whole scene.
Laying a motive for her to commit the killing.
Well, either. That's the thing. I think that's the danger he's getting into at this point. He's basically establishing a reason for the defendant to want to get rid of the victim, at least in a relationship aspect, to make this other woman happy.
Yeah, clever thing I thought there. Witness prepared. And Michael Sepe, as prosecutor, it looks to me like either she has a natural tendency to speak very briefly or in a very straightforward way, or she's been very well prepared because she's doing that and it's keeping her out of trouble.
Well, she probably has been well prepared. This is, in fact, a person who, according to the prosecution, helped the defendant try to cover up evidence of a murder and has written him all sorts of love letters knowing, according to the prosecution, that he, in fact, committed these murders. At the same time, it helps that she's being asked a bunch of questions that are not rattling her, that are in a yes or a no format to try to make points, but aren't really being scored against her.
Yeah, and she does not have the body language or the sort of sense of a person who's afraid that he's going to do a Perry Mason on her at any moment and prove that she was the true killer.
Fred, she almost looks bored.
Yeah.
I think that was a clever move. I don't know what Mike thinks about how effective it was because, again, now he's just established that, okay, this witness will have done anything for the defendant. And then that prosecutor and redirect, I think, will establish the point, like cover up evidence or like clean up the crime scene.
There's a bit more cross-examination to go. They were not prosecuted. Is that unusual? Did they just take the word of the prosecutor? How does that work?
Depends on the situation. Here, I mean, we're only guessing, but at most, you really have them being an accessory in the sense of just hiding evidence, possibly obstruction of justice, witness tampering, or rather evidence tampering. So it's not as if they have a major case against them in the first place.
Oh, that's really...
Michael Sepe, looking at this from two sides, from the prosecution side, why is this?
Well, normally you would have a problem, but for the fact that you have the defendant himself giving 3 different stories to both of the 2 girlfriends, and I think multiple stories to the police as well, combined with the fact that the defense has basically established a motive for the defendant to commit the murders, and circumstantial evidence, things about jumping out of 5th-floor windows during being interrogation, and all of those things add up despite the little problems. It starts to form a very clear picture. So possible they're common crooks, they're simply telling the truth. Yeah. And that is leaping.
And it just couldn't be possible at all that the attorney's office said, look, either you come in and tell us what happened and we won't prosecute you, and if you don't, we will.
Oh, it's more than possible. It's very likely. But that doesn't really say much about the defendant's guilt or innocence. That
and you've seen 2 witnesses like this, calm, cool, and collective, without a fidgeting, without anything. I mean, I think that's very unusual, Michael.
It is unusual, but again, you know, prep can only go so far. If, in fact, they're being truthful and they've been told to expect cross-examination on their own wrongdoing of helping to cover it up, then it makes sense they could sit there and just...
Easy to be truthful.